Welcome to our Saturday Research Academy Conference. This talk will be recorded. I'm Dr. Elba Sepulveda, and I will be the moderator of this activity today. Please remember to fill out the participant survey that will collect basic information about our participants. You can be a student, mentor, teacher, parents, or a general guest. We are collecting this information for reporting to our sponsor, the Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund. Please fill the evaluation of the conference survey. I know that we are collecting the email, but we are not disclosing any information. I'm the evaluator of the project. I'm not providing any personal information in my report. I will now let you with Dr. Arato.
Okay, thank you very much, Elba, Dr. Sepulveda. I really would like to thank all the participants, especially Dr. Eleonora, well, the last name, Losiouk, and she's going to talk about the cybersecurity. That's an important topic to be special in almost all the disciplines. So you will learn today the principle, and she will tell us what is the future is going to look like for this discipline. Okay, Dr. Eleonora Losiouk, she is from Italy, from University of Padua, and right now she is visiting in United States, in Berkeley, California. So she has been in the country for a while, but she will go back to Italy in a little while, probably in one more month. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Eleonora Losiouk, for this opportunity. And so the link is for you just to deliver your talk.
Thank you very much, Professor Arratia. How do you pronounce your surname?
Arratia, that's okay.
Arratia, okay. Yes. Thank you very much for the nice introduction, and of course for the invitation. I'm always glad to share, let's say, my short experience so far in the cybersecurity field, and I hope that all the students that are currently attending this talk will also enjoy and benefit of the, let's say, information that I'm going to share with you, with all of you. So I'm going to share my presentation. Let me check. Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
I think so.
But
what about now?
Right now, yes.
Okay. Can you also hear me well, or is there an internet connection issue? Okay, because I cannot hear you very well, Professor.
The sounds is good. You cannot hear me, or let me check my volume.
Yeah, the voice sometimes is broken.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
If you confirm that it's fine.
Yeah.
I'll go on.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little unstable here, the communication. We are in the tropics, so the atmosphere is a lot busy in terms of, yeah. So sometimes the communication here interrupt. Okay. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so welcome everybody. Today, the talk will be a very short and brief introduction to cybersecurity, in particular to cybersecurity principles. And I hope that the way that I choose for introducing you to these principles will be a sort of inspiration for you to really start enjoying this field if you haven't done so far, and start practicing in the, let's say, in the games that also are involved in this kind of field, which is the cybersecurity. Before starting, like going, I would say, deeply into the details of the talk, I would like to share with you some information about my background. So I studied at the University of Pavia in northern part of Italy, close to Milan. I have a biomedical engineer background, so I got a degree, a bachelor, master, and PhD in biomedical engineering. But after that, let's say that I've been always working in Android on the Android operating system. And after the PhD, I switched to a different field, which is the cybersecurity one, starting working again on the Android operating system, but from the security point of view. So I joined the Spritz group, Spritz research group at the University of Padua in 2017, and like it's almost 1 year that I'm an assistant professor at the University of Padua at the Department of Mathematics. My main research area right now is Android security. So whatever comes with a smartphone, a mobile device, but also whatever involves, say, a communication with a smartphone and a mobile device with an external device like a fitness tracker or an Internet of Things device or whatever is interesting for me, and I'm trying to identify all the possible, as many vulnerabilities as possible or new attacks that can be, of course, fixed and solved in order to keep all the users protected. Besides this, I'm also very proud about let's say, my teaching experience. So right now at the University of Padua, I'm teaching a course on the mobile security topic, but also the next semester I'm going to teach a course that is entitled Ethical Hacking. And this will be pretty much the topic of the talk today. So when I switched to the cybersecurity field, I was definitely not aware of what the capture the flag competitions were. So for me, let's say this combination of keywords remind me about, you know, the famous game where you have this flag, there is someone handing the flag, and people are divided into teams and they have to run in order to grab the flag as soon as possible and preferably before the adversary that belongs to the other team. And then who catches the flag needs to go back to the team in order to keep the flag and earn the point. But in cybersecurity, there is something that is like that shares that name, but it is much cooler, which is capture the flag competitions for cybersecurity, and especially for, let's say, very, very young students and researchers. So that is a way to introduce people to cybersecurity. So the first time that I was introduced to this kind of practice, I was very curious because I couldn't catch the real meaning and the real structure of such competitions. But then, when I had the opportunity to take part in one of those, I was really impressed about not only the, let's say, the involvement of the people that usually play capture the flag competitions, but also the educational impact of such competitions on the people that attend them. So first of all, I would like to ask you, so I would like to, let's say, to have an interactive talk today as much as possible, because I know that when everything is online, it's not that easy to be interactive, but I try to do my best. So first of all, I would like to ask you if any one of you already knows about this capture the flag competition or has any experience on it. Have you ever heard about capture the flag competitions in the cybersecurity context? If so, just raise your hand on Zoom. Doesn't seem so. So I'm pretty.
Look,
one. I do not.
Nobody is raising their hand.
Yeah. So that is very good, because I hope that at the end of the talk you will be curious enough to go searching for capture the flag competitions in cybersecurity, and you start playing them. So since nobody has knowledge about these competitions, I would like to share with you a few information. So basically, capture the flag competitions are small challenges that usually last 48 hours. They are organized during the weekend. I mean, the majority of them. And they are usually organized as, through a set of exercises that are called challenges, which share all the same aim. You have to find the flag. In this case, the flag is, of course, not the physical flag of the game that I previously illustrated, but is something different, which is basically a string that is hidden somewhere according to the different type of challenge that you have to solve. For example, if you solve a cryptographic challenge, you have, for example, to decrypt a message, and you have to find out what is the proper key to decrypt the message, or the algorithm that has been used to encrypt it, and do the reverse engineering in order to obtain the plain text of the flag. If you are working on a web security challenge, you have to find out the flag, which is somewhere located on, for example, on a remote server or on a database that you have to that you have to attack, or that you have to exploit in order to catch the flag. So every time let's say the competitions are structured through involve a set of different challenges, and usually the, let's say, most common topics, even though right now they are getting more and more heterogeneous and miscellaneous, are the following ones. So these are the, let's say, main topics that you might find in the capture the flag competitions. So basically they cover cryptography, web security, forensics, pwning, and reverse engineering. And you can play alone. So there are two types of capture the flag competitions, which are called CTF for short. So the first type is called Jeopardy, and in Jeopardy you can play alone as a single player, and you have to solve the challenges alone during the weekend. So as I said, usually the CTF lasts 48 hours. The challenges are released at some point, and you have 48 hours to solve them. So you don't have to be all the time at the computer trying to solve the challenges, but you have this amount of time in order to submit your solutions. And then at some point, of course, the competition will be closed, and there will be a ranking of all the participants. The second type of CTF is called is a different it's called attack defense, and is slightly different because you play as a team. So you have also, if you want to play the attack defense CTF, you have to set up a team. Basically, I would say that at least 4 or 5 people is the best, is the minimum number, but sometimes there are even teams made of 40 people. It really depends on the competition. And in the attack defense in the attack defense CTF, you have to every time you have to you receive a set of services, which could be most of the times some websites, or in any case Docker containers that are executed on your computer, and you expose these services to the other team within a private network. And the purpose of the competition is to somehow of this private network, in order to understand what the other teams are doing against their adversaries, which means which kind of attacks they are launching. And you have to, at the same time, defend yourself, so fix the issues of the services that you're exposing, but also attacking the other teams. So let's say Jeopardy is a pretty standard way to start with the CTF competitions, and also you can play alone, and this is very I would strongly recommend that as a starting point. But then if you if you become really excited about this world, playing an attack defense is definitely, I would say, the most enjoyable option that you can have, and it's very also is very hard, because you have to do a lot of stuff, a lot of things at the same time. So in the team, there should be everyone should have a specific role. So there should be a person that fixes the services, a person that analyzes the traffic, another person that is responsible for the attacks, and so on. More specifically, the attacks that you launch against the other teams, against the services that are exposed by the other teams, are at the end of the day similar to Jeopardy. But the way that these attacks, these services are exposed is completely different from the Jeopardy style. So today I would like to give you just a flavor of this capture the flag competition by sharing with you a couple of examples that regard the web security and the pawning categories of CTF. If you are interested, you can, let me, oops, okay, I would like to go out from the full screen option. Let me see if I can. Okay. CTF time. If you're curious, I strongly recommend you to go to this website and give a look at the competitions. I'm going to copy paste the link here. Yeah. So this is the main platform. Can you see my browser? I hope so. So this is the main platform that regards the CTF competitions all over the world. There are a lot of teams, there are a lot of players, but what is important is that so everything is free. I mean, the majority of CTFs are free. You can enroll as a single participant whenever you want. There are no restrictions, no requirement, no bachelor or master certification degree that you have to prove. Everyone is welcome, even nobody cares about your age. And definitely is amazing. I'm sure that I will strongly recommend at the end of this talk, maybe I'm not sure if this weekend there is a CTF going on, but probably next weekend there will be one because there are a lot of organizers and the events are going on every day. Yeah, you see tomorrow there is this cybersecurity challenge provided by Union team. But also next Saturday there is another one. So every weekend there is a different CTF competition, and of course within the competition you have like a different level of background required. So there are some competitions that are very, very hard and very, very famous, but there are also the ones that are available for beginners, and you can start playing with them and then keep practicing in order to achieve the higher levels. So yeah, as I said, I would like you to introduce to you to a couple of examples of CTFs that belong to the web security and pawning categories. So considering the web security one, let's say that overall, what I like about oh, sorry, I covered my slides, okay. What I really love about the CTF competitions is that you learn so much in a practical and in a practical way that is like amazing. And I think that like it is a completely different way to learn things, you know. Usually when you have to be introduced in a world, in a topic, you have the book, you have a possible, maybe the exercises, and you start practicing. But the way that like these challenges are presented to the player is definitely a unique way to start understanding this field, and like you really learn a lot, but at the meantime you are having fun. So just to give you an example about what a possible web CTF could be, like I'm going to share right now an example on the slides, and then we are going to play a real CTF that I have downloaded on my computer. So let's say I would like to be interactive, so please reply on the chat or unmute yourself in order to answer to the questions. So let's say that we can consider a very, very basic situation, a very basic scenario, which is as follows. We have a user, we have a web application, and we have a database located in a remote server. So we have the client side that is based, that involves the user and the web application running on his laptop, and the server side, which involves the database. So possible ways to maybe different user interfaces that can be used to interact with the database. No, I don't think that you need. No, you're not going. Let's say I will structure the CTF in a like interactive way. I will not share the CTF so that you are going to solve it alone today. If you want to play them afterwards, I would say that maybe basic programming, basic knowledge of programming languages. The most important one is Python for the competition is required. So if you know Python, that should be enough for to start. And then you keep practicing, you keep enjoying, and you keep learning. You will see. So let's say we want to interact with the database that is located on the server side, and this could be a very simple query that regards that affects that involves the users table. With we want to retrieve the basic the single row in this table users with that matches the specific email and password fields. This could be one possible way to address or to interact with the database. So we use a specific one possible programming language, which is Java Server Pages, which has this notation. So we perform the query in this way, and we specify that the parameters that need to be provided to the query are the ones that are provided on the web page by the user itself, and that are retrieved through this syntax. So basically, the idea is that we just take the input provided by the user and we copy paste the input provided by the user in the field. Now, I'm not sure that whether you know these programming languages, Java Server Pages, if you have previous experience of web security or web developing in general, but I would like still would like to ask you a question to think about which are the possible issues that come out with from this kind of scenario. Do you think do you think that this way to set up the query towards the remote server, the remote database is correct? Do you think that there might be any attack surface? And if so, which one? And what could be the exploit provided by the attacker? I'll give you just a couple of seconds, if you have an idea. So as I said, this blue part is the one that basically involves the user input. So whatever the user inputs to the web interface is copy pasted in that field, and it is used for launching the query against the remote database. Anyone has possible ideas? If not, let's keep going with the example. So let's first assume that the user is a legitimate one. The emails and passwords could be stolen during the query by a third party. Yes, but let's say we are not talking about the network traffic that goes from the user to the server. We are just looking at the way you interact with the remote database. So we are basically considering the input that the data that the user provides as input to this query. So maybe moving on, you can start thinking about possible issues. So let's consider a legitimate user, which doesn't want to break the server, and that provides a standard email address and a standard password as it is. So the user input is the following one provided through the web application, and the query that is performed under the hood is the following one. So we will have this very standard email address and the password so that we can query the database and obtain the associated row. What could be one possible exploit that the attacker might want to do in this case? So let's, for example, assume that the user is not a legitimate one, but is an attacker, and that he has no knowledge, he has no account on the server, but he still wants to be logged in. Okay, so how can he manage to do so without actually having any email and password associated or registered on the remote database. He probably needs to play a little bit with some logic expressions. And what about this situation? So what happens if the user provides any kind of email address, and then after that it provides an OR and 1 equal to 1? I mean, there are also some let's say restrictions or specifications about these um, notations that you have to specify in order to make the query appropriate. But let's focus on the content of the input. So what does it mean in this sense? It means I'm going to provide you as an email field an email address or 1 equal to 1. So at the end of the day, what does it mean? It means just true, right? So this is always true. And then we have the password. In this case, the password is the same as before, so we're not going to, let's say, to modify the example. But what happens is that if the attacker provides this kind of input, the query that is performed under the hood will be the following one. So the query will be select from the users whatever row has as an email this one, or 1 equal to 1, which means whatever row you have in the database. So this means select from users whenever is true. So there is no match. I don't care about the match between the email field of the table and the email that I provided as input, because this line is like translated as a true Boolean. And the same, you can have the same with the password. So if you add this part as input, you will have a query that says, okay, please from the users table, select me whatever row is has an email equal to this one, or 1 equal to 1, which means always true, and whatever row has as a password the following one, or 1 equal to 1, which means always true. What is the, let's say, the final outcome of this query is that basically you will not have any authentication from the user side, because this OR will give you a true Boolean from the first check, but also from the second one, and the basically the query to be towards the users table will be always successful, and whatever email and password are specified by the user will be authenticated and will be able to log in into the remote server. So this is an example. Let's say the correct definition of this kind of attack is a SQL injection. Of course, a SQL because we are talking about SQL databases, and injection because the attacker is injecting some data which are not properly, which shouldn't be allowed, but that definitely break down the query and the structure of the query and the structure of the authentication of the web server. So this is like, it's crazy, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, the attacker can just provide an OR 1 equal to 1, and he can enter the web application without knowing the real credentials. Possible way to escape this or to prevent this kind of attack is to what is called in cybersecurity field is called sanitization, which means most of the times nowadays the attacks that used to be performed over the past few years are fixed, because there are libraries and there are there is support to defend against these kind of attacks. And for example, against the SQL injection attacks, you can easily prevent them by using the sanitization that is already provided by the libraries. And in this case, for this specific programming language, as I said, the Java server pages, you can use the proper syntax provided by the library itself that says, whenever you collect the input from the user, do not just copy paste the value into the field, but use this syntax so that the let's say this instruction will sanitize the input, which means sanitization means that you remove all the not allowed characters. So, for example, if you remember before, we had this OR. So or 1 equal to 1 is definitely something strange that we do not expect to have as a field of user input. And the sanitization will automatically remove this part. So if you apply the sanitization to, for example, in this case, to a login web page on your web server, you are sure that whatever input is provided by the user will be sanitified, and there will be no way for the attacker to inject code that allows him to be authenticated without knowing the real credentials. So this is just, let's say, a very simple example of a possible attack, and on the other side of a possible defense mechanism that you can that you can use. I'm going to right now to share. So first of all, do you have questions? From the participants, from the audience? So from a high level perspective, this, let's say, in this kind of example that I shared with you, as I told you, is an example that belongs to the web security field. And I would say that the take-home message that you have to take care of is that whenever you work on the web security field or on the development of the web servers, you have to take care about the input that the user provides, and you never, you are not allowed to trust the user, and you have to always sanitize the input provided by the user itself. I'm going to share a possible example of web application in order to give you the flavor of, let's say, basic tools that are used in cybersecurity and specifically in the web security field. So I have a Docker container running on my side, which is very simple. And we have to, this is a capture the flag competition running on my computer. And we have a very basic, let's say, very basic web app. And we have to capture the flag. Now, I would like to introduce to you this tool. Oh, I hope that you can see. Let me iconize the, okay. So this is one of the most famous, most used tool for web security. I don't know if you, I just pressed a button on the, this is called the developer tools on Firefox. There is the equivalent one on Chrome, but also on any kind of browser. And this is a very interesting way to interact with the web page, because you can see the code that is running on the client side of the application. So let's say this is a possible, I just would like to share with you a possible CTF so that you can understand what a CTF in web security can be. As I told you, in this case, we have a very simple form with a submit button, and we have to capture the flag. We have this instrument, which is a way to see the source code of the web application that we're executing on the client side. And we can inspect what is the source code by looking at the at this panel. So we basically see that we have an HTML page with some standard code and some JavaScript at the bottom. And if you look at the source code, you might see that here there is a reference point towards something that is called key.php with a get instruction. So let's say you do not have to have basic or background experience on web security or on web development to catch the meaning of this code. We can just give a look at it without knowing the details of the syntax and see that we have a couple of functions. The first one, which is called what, that doesn't really do anything interesting, checks the input provided by the user against a predefined value, and that it calls the getThat function. The getThat function might be much more interesting for us, because we see that if string, which is something that we do not care of, is equal to yes, then there is a request, a GET request towards a different page, PHP page, that might have the key. The key sounds similar to the flag. And on the other side, if the string is equal to no or equal to anything else, then we will have the HTML equal to nope. So what is interesting here is that we can actually execute the functions that are provided on the client side of the code that is running on my computer and execute it. So have you seen that? This is already the flag. So this is like a very simple and very basic, example of a capture the flag competition that regards the inspection of the source code of an application, of a web application. And I'm not sure if whether you really got the point, but I would like to repeat myself. So basically, what I did was I had an empty web application. I had a web application running on my computer, and I had to find the flag. So the first thing, whenever you play with the web CTF challenges, is to inspect the source code. How do? You can click on the right and do. Oh, sorry, this is not the okay. Yeah, you can do this way. So this is basically the code that we have just inspected, and you can. Let me zoom a little bit. Or you can use the console provided by the browser itself, and you try to understand what is the logic that is running behind the web interface. In this way, in this case, it was very, very simple because we had the opportunity to see a couple of functions provided by the web application itself that were running on the client side. And we saw that there was a function that with a predefined value could send a query towards a different page, which is this key.php. So since everything is running on the client side, we can also access to the same functions. And through the console of this set of tools, we can call all the functions provided by that are running within the same the web application itself, and providing the proper input. In this case, yes, we can like retrieve the flag that is hidden in this web application. So in this case, the flag, which is, I told you, the flag usually is always a string, which is hidden somewhere in the web application. In this case, the flag was flag console control JavaScript. If, just to give you an example, if I call the function in a different way, you see that the web page is changing the output, the outcome, and you cannot retrieve the flag. But if you just call the proper function with the proper argument, you will easily find the flag, and the challenge is solved. So this is a very simple example of a CTF belonging to the web security field that you can find in a CTF competition. It refers to the web security category, and more specifically to the inspection of the client side code that is running on the user computer. Web security is very huge, so you can find any kind of attacks, SQL injections, as the example that I shared with you previously, but also attacks that involve the JavaScript code. There are a bunch of attacks and examples out there. So, as I said, today I'm just going to. The purpose of my talk of today is just to. I would like to inject in you as a participant the let's say the enthusiasm and the emotional part that regards these CTF games, so that at the end of the talk, you might not have, like, of course, a huge background in cybersecurity, but you will be able to, you will be curious enough to go to see the webpage of this event and start playing, because definitely this will be the right way to start interacting with the with this kind of field. Moving on, the second example that I would like you to share is belongs to a different category of CTF, which is the pawning. So pawning means pretty much it refers to the corruption of the memory of the memory allocated for a specific program. So we are switching to a completely different category from the web security to the pawning one, which is which regards the how the programs are executed and how we can actually play with the memory that is allocated with a program. And in this case, the example that I'm going to share with you will be amazing. I'm sure that you will be like astonished about the example that I'm going to share. So very few information to understand the field or this kind of category. Okay, so let's see, this is the example. We have a program that has a very simple function called foo. In this function, we have nothing more than a couple of variables. See, we don't care about the C program, the C variable, but the buff one is a very interesting one, which is a vector, an array of 8 elements. We see that here the user input is provided and saved into the buff variable, and then there are some like some possible operational mathematical operations that are performed over these variables, and just a return value is provided back. Let's say we try to execute the program and providing this input, and we got a segmentation fault. I think that if you have ever programmed in C, you might have seen already this issue, this error. What's going on under the hood? So basically, when you execute a program, you have a portion of memory which is allocated for that program. Now, going very straightforward, because I'm running out of time, there are some, let's say for each program, we have a portion of memory that is allocated and which has specific portions that are used for the execution of the program itself. The most important part that we have to take care about today is the stack. So the stack is basically the amount of memory that is allocated for the function, for each function that is provided in the program, and which refers to the arguments of the function and to the local variable of the functions. What is the meaning or the purpose of the stack? Well, basically, whenever you execute a program, you will have to allocate some space, some memory for the program itself. And the way it is allocated and executed is the following one. So first, all the arguments of the function are saved into the memory in the reverse order. Then we have the instruction pointer, which is just a pointer that goes from one instruction towards the other. Then we have a different pointer, which is called base pointer, used to reference as a reference for the local variables and for the arguments. You see, variable 1 is referred as base pointer minus some value. Variable 2 is base pointer minus 8 bytes and whatever. And then we have the local variable of the functions. Now, this way is the way used for allocating memory for the program, for the arguments and for the local variables of the program. And in this way is the procedure for writing the memory and saving the data that is provided by the user. So in the previous example, we had a call to the gets function, and we start writing in this order on the stack. So whenever we provide an input, we're going to override some memory cells in some cells that are provided in the stack, and where we are allowed to save our own the input value that we provided. Now, the problem here is that what happens if we provide a longer input than the expected one, an input which is longer than 8 bytes. So basically, if we wrote this really long string, what happens is as follows. So we have first the buffer, which is 8 byte long, and then an integer. And you see that the input is saved in this way. So 4 bytes per time for cell. Since the input is longer than the expected one, in this case, you are going to overwrite the cells that are basically not involved in the buffer variable. So we're going to overwrite the C local variable, but also the base pointer and the instruction pointer. And that's why, and since you are writing to an inappropriate portion of the memory where you shouldn't be allowed to, you receive a segmentation fault issue. Just to close the talk, what could be the impact of this kind of attacks? So let's consider this very simple example. We have a C program which has like a very stupid verification of the user. We have a pass variable, we have a buffer. The input, an input is required by the user and is saved into the buff variable. If the comparison between buff and I'm happy is equal to 0, then we have the pass variable will store the value equal to 1, and we will have the flag printed. Now, let's assume that we do not have the source code of this program. So we just execute the program. Enter the password. Okay, I don't know what is the password. I have just the executable file on my computer, but I want to break down. I want to break the security of this program in order to catch which is the flag. So what I can do is to exploit the this kind of attacks, which is called the buffer overflow attack. So if you collected the proper information from the example, this is pretty much the same. So on the stack, we will have the 2 cells allocated for the buffer local variable, and then a cell allocated for the pass variable. And the pass variable is the significant one to be able to trigger the printing of the flag on the terminal. However, of course, to print the flag, we have to know which is the proper keyword. But on the other side, we can also exploit the buffer overflow attack. So basically, how can we do? Well, what happens if we go further than the 8 expected input values? So let's say if I provide just 1 value, nothing happens. If I provide 2 values, still nothing happens. Let's try with 3. Let's try with 4. Move on. 5. Okay. 6. Still not working. Let's go with 7. Okay. 8. Now this means that we have like filled the whole buffer variable. Let's try with 9. Oh, now the flag is printed. You see? And I definitely didn't provide as input the expected input. So as a proof, I can also write a different number, 2, 4, and it still works. So what happened? Well, I actually exploited. I performed a buffer overflow attack, which allowed me to overwrite the variable that were saved on the stack, in particular the pass variable. And since you know that in C, whatever value is different from 0 is considered equal to true, whatever input I provide here, this value, the 9 integer that I write as input, is saved on the stack, and it overwrites the pass variable, so that at the end of the day, the check on the pass will be always true, which is this check. So I overwrite this value, and whatever check you will do here, it will be always true, and the program will print the flag on the terminal, even though you don't know the expected input that should be that should allow you to pass the check. This is another very simple, extremely simple example of pawning capture the flag competitions. This is like my favorite category, because you play with the memory of the programs and you can do a lot of stuff. And it's just, once again, just a simple example to give you the flavor of how many things you can really do with cybersecurity, and more specifically with capture the flag, and how much you can learn. Given this, I think that we can, I'm available for questions if you have. As I told you, this was just like a flavor and a possible, just a flavor of cybersecurity, so that you will, I hope that today after the talk, you will search for this ctf.org, ctftime.org website, and you will start playing CTF competitions, and you will be able to start practicing and start working in the cybersecurity field. Any questions, curiosity, doubts from the participants?
Oh, thank you very much for the presentation. I think there is some question in the chat. One particular one was, what? Did you hear that, the question?
Oh, sorry, no, I couldn't hear. Can you repeat, please?
Or maybe you can write in the chat.
Yeah, because the sound was not that good.
Yes, and I have received some questions too. They want to know about what is the basics of cybersecurity, and also they say that they haven't heard this term before, but it sounds interesting. Another person said that emails and passwords could be stolen during this query by a third party. If that is possible?
Yeah. So as I said, the basic elements of cybersecurity is like I should have an entire life to share this kind of knowledge. What I wanted to do today was to instead of giving you like a lot of information that at the end of the day wouldn't cover that much, because of course to learn cybersecurity you really you really attend courses and you really read books, and I strongly recommend to play CTF competitions. But from these examples and from the CTF challenges that I share with you, like if we want to wrap up and to have some take-home message from the web security side, we learned that whenever you whenever you develop a web server, you have to take care about the input provided by the user and possibly sanitize it, so that you will not have a user providing just some logical values that can bypass the authentication process. But also considering the other example that I give to you, the take-home message is that you should never hard code or embed any check on the client side, because whenever you have a web application, you can see the source code that is running under the hood, and if you like hard code some checks, the attacker might exploit the same checks and can enter into the web application, or can, for example, print the flag without being allowed to do so. On the other side, considering the example from the pawning category, we can say that the take-home message is that whenever you acquire the input from the user, you should never assume that the user is providing the proper input or the input that you're expecting. So if you write a program that saves some input in an array, you have always to check if the amount of characters provided by the user are the expected ones. So for example, in the program that I ran, the defense mechanism was pretty straightforward, because if the developer had just checked that I was providing just 8 input characters instead of 9, then the attack was not able to be, wouldn't be allowed at all. So every time you have to take care about the user input, and you have to sanitize it to check if it has the expected length. You have to rely on the defense mechanism already embedded in the libraries. Those are just 2 possible simple examples of the principles of cybersecurity. So do not never rely on the user. But of course, there are, let's say the field is very huge. So as I said, I hope that I share with you the enthusiasm that I have for this field, and that you're going to start playing CTFs after this talk. you do not require any prior background to start playing, and then yeah, you can just start and learning by doing. When it comes to staying safe on the internet, would you recommend using a VPN or a browser like Tor? Oh, that's a huge point. It really depends. Like VPN it depends on the, let's say, on the purpose of the on your purpose. So VPN just hides your IP address, while Tor hides basically the whole communication. So I would say that the safest way to be the safest solution to be safe, to be concerned of, is to use Tor. But I also understand that Tor is not that straightforward. So maybe, I don't know, if you want to be just to hide your IP address and be located in a different country, you can use VPN. It really depends. I couldn't really answer. It really depends from the purpose of your navigation on the internet. So both solutions, of course, are useful, but it really depends on the purpose of your internet navigation.
Thank you. I have many questions from different participants that they sent to me. And one of the questions is about how to enroll in these competitions. Another one is about if you receive any award for participating in these kind of competitions, and what is needed, what kind of computer is needed, and what knowledge is needed for, for participating.
Yeah, well, concerning the enrollment, you have just to register on the website. So there is nothing more to be done. You go to this ctftime.org website, you create your own profile, and you start playing. So there is no fee, there is no nothing to be paid. Everything is for free, and you can also play. What is also nice is that the majority, since it is like people from all over the world are playing these CTF competitions, the majority of them are online, so you can just sit at your home during the weekend and start playing if you want to give it a try. Which kind of background knowledge? As I told you, I would strongly recommend to learn Python, because Python is like the main approach, or main tool that you have to use to solve the challenges. Today, I illustrated a couple of challenges that didn't require any Python programming script, but because of a lack of time. But usually, the majority of the challenges can be solved by writing a Python script. So, learning Python is the step 0 before starting playing CTF. But then you will really start learning by doing also, because at the end of the competition, the solutions are provided. So if you don't manage to understand, of course, the first experience will be like a disaster, because you will not be able to solve the challenges. But then learning from the solution that will be provided, you will start understanding what is the approach and what is the overall, let's say, the the mental approach that you have to follow to solve these kind of challenges. Concerning the computer requirement, I would say that there is no specific requirement, because all the challenges are self-contained. So if it is a web server to be attacked, usually it is hosted by the organizers of the CTF. If it is a pawning challenge, you will have the executable file to be executed on your computer. Let's say one possible safe approach, which I've seen done by most of the participants, is to set up a virtual machine with a protected environment, so that whenever you receive an executable file from the organizers, or something else that you have to run on your computer, you will not run on the host operating system, but you run it on a virtual machine, which is a sandboxed and protected environment. So I would say that as a setup, you just need a computer, no matter what is the host operating system. But I strongly suggest to set up a virtual machine with a different operating system running there, possibly a Linux-based operating system, and to use the virtual machine to execute any kind of executable files or code that is shared by the organizers. And concerning the last question, the award, yeah, there are definitely awards at the end of the competitions. It depends, of course, by on the level of the competition. Sometimes the award is just money. Sometimes could be, for example, the registration to a conference, or could be like a voucher or yeah, like something that you can use on a, if, for example, the competition is sponsored by, I don't know, Amazon or Google, you might have, for example, access to the Amazon Web Services online, and you have like a sort of bonus. So it really depends from the level of the competition and from the from the organizers also. I mean, not all the CTFs involve an award. Some of them might provide an award. Some others no. Maybe I would say the ones for the beginners usually do not have an award. There are some famous ones that are organized worldwide, and that are attended by really a lot of security passionate developers that might involve some awards, some prizes like money as an award.
Do they post those awards on the website? And they have another one that is about how important is it to use cybersecurity. And there is one on the chat about an example of situation in which a person is using Wi-Fi, like a coffee place or a library, and how they can protect the information using this approach.
Okay, I can answer to the question in the chat, and I would, so if you have to, okay, if you're using a public Wi-Fi, yeah, well, once again, if you use, it really depends, like, if you use a public Wi-Fi, the situation is that there might be someone else that snips your traffic. And so you have to, to set up an encrypted channel to share your information, your traffic. And in this case, both a VPN and the Tor browser would work. So definitely both of these solutions will be suggested. On the other side, it really depends from the setup of the Wi-Fi. And I mean, public Wi-Fi's are not always that bad. It really depends from the configuration. But if you want to be safe, yeah, I would suggest either works. So both the VPN, the adoption of a VPN or of a Tor browser to be on the safe side. And excuse me, the questions that you read before concerning the CTF competition, could you please repeat them? Because I didn't catch them.
Yes, it's about the award of the competition. Is it posted by the person, or if it is posted on each one of the competitions, so they can just select which one to have an award or something to participate? That was about.
Yeah, so let's say that CTF competitions are basically organized by, so there is this, the ctftime.org is the main platform, but then it works like this. So basically organizers can offer themselves, can candidate to host and to organize a competition, but each competition is completely independent from the others. So even like me, I can candidate for being an organizer and set up a competition the next weekend. I've never done that, so I don't know which kind of requirements could be, but they might ask. But generally speaking, everyone can be either a participant or an organizer. Of course, to be an organizer, I think that you need to show that you are a trusted person, that you are able to technically provide the competition and support the competition. But all the competitions are also, as I said, organized by different people. Sometimes they are supported by the companies, like Google organizes a competition. I don't know if it is just one per year, but there might be also several others. And yeah, so for every competition, like the structure is always the same. So you have challenges either in the Jeopardy format or in the attack defense format. And like the way you play will be always the same, but of course the organizer will be different. So also the maybe the structure of the challenges could be different. So for example, it might happen that if, according to the organizer, there might be more challenges that concern the web security instead of the pawning category and so on. So it really depends from the organizers. Usually, generally speaking, the structure is always the same. Then the content of the challenges, of course, is always different, and it really depends on the organizer. And yeah, together with the content and the type of the challenges, also the award can be different. So every time the challenges, the CTF competitions are different, and you might have a different experience. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Do anybody else have more questions for Dr. Eleonora Losiouk?
Oh.
Dr. Aratia, do you want to say something?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Losiouk for this presentation. And also, before we go, can we ask the student to open their cameras so we can have a picture, a group picture, because we had to report this to the funding agency. So we would like to just have a picture. So why don't you just open your cameras, and we will have, aside from your name, your face. All right. It will be for internal dissemination. All right. So I'm not sure, Dr. Sepulveda, if you can catch the majority of the people. No.
Yes, I captured them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, them. I will. Yeah, we will get in touch. Dr.
And before we go, remember that we need to fill out the participant survey and the conference feedback. This is very important because as an evaluator, I want to have some information about what you think about these kind of activities and to provide feedback to our sponsors so we can have more activities like this one. Thank you so much for being here, and let's continue. I'm sorry that my computer opened the Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund. That is one of our sponsors, and the other sponsor is Caribbean Foundation. So now I want to present our next presentation. It's going to be on February 26th. We are going to have Dr. Claude Laug. The conference is going to be about engineering and COVID-19 pandemic. Please register using our website like you did today. And very, very important is that we are going to have today the verification of attendance. So please take a screenshot in which you can have the date and time on your computer so you can have the proof that you attend to this webinar. Thank you so much for being here. And let me let Dr. Aratia for a final word if he wants to say something. And if you want to stay, you can stay. Dr. Eleonora Losiouk, please stay with us for just some minutes so we can have a conversation. Okay.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much for the presentation, and to the audience. And this is a new area, a new field that is very interesting if you get into, and it's very useful. It will be useful for society as a whole. Okay. Yes, I think it would be interesting just to get in touch, Dr. Eleonora Losiouk. So I will really enjoy having connectivity with your activities at the university back in Italy. Yeah, normally we send students to the different Fulbright visiting scholar if it's possible, you see, to have, let's say, by maybe next year, not this year, but maybe 2023, to have an opportunity to send somebody who would like to just go on with this kind of field. All right. So
yeah,
that's,
definitely keep in touch. Yeah,
yes,
definitely. I would be happy to keep contributing.
yes, I think that would be really, really interesting. We have Professor Leonid Sotov. He is up in Moscow State University. So, Leonid, do you have any questions or any comment?
The only thing I can comment that in the future we are waiting for new types of computers which will use quantum mechanics, and they will break all the security codes. So we are afraid of this, but hope it won't happen soon. That's all.
Well, that's something that I was interested to learn, Dr. Losiouk. Do you have to be a hacker or something just to go forward in this field, or you, as a normal person, you can just have a good time just going forward?
Could you repeat the question? Like,
Well,
sometimes
okay, if in order just to go into this field, you have to be a hacker or something similar, or just a normal person?
yeah. No, I mean, you see, also from my background, I'm a biomedical engineer, so definitely like I didn't start as a hacker. And also I would like to say that we are on the legitimate side of the cybersecurity, and we used to call ourselves as ethical hackers, which means we of course exploited the same let's say methodology and the same tools that maybe malicious hackers use to exploit for different kind of attacks, but we usually approach this kind of field for improving the tools and the society and whatever comes with the technology in order to be all of us safer than we are currently are. As a researcher, I already told you that I basically focus on Android devices, so whatever regards the smartphone technology area, and there is still a lot of research to be done, a lot of attacks, unfortunately. And yeah, so cybersecurity is a crazy field. There is a lot of stuff to be done, and I hope that both the academia and the industry can support and can move on towards the identifications of new attacks and the design of new defense mechanism, of course. But you do not really have to be a hacker to start working in this field. Like, I think that passion and enthusiasm are just the two requirements that you need to start.
Oh,
Nothing
yeah.
else.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you very much. Yes,
thank you.
I believe, yeah, that being a hacker is not a bad word, because it's a person usually who have tried to learn something. But some people, they just go in the wrong direction, you see, to produce some damage to other people. But in order just to learn, in order to do search and to do research, yeah, sometimes people with the open mind as a hacker is a good person, you see, in general. In particular, where the society use those persons, you see, positive or negative. So don't say that if you are a hacker, you are a bad person. No, I don't think so. It's,
No, but we just use the term ethical hacking just to be different from the,
yes,
yeah.
that's nice. That's a nice way of saying. Okay, but this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys, everybody.
Thank you very much again for the invitation.
Yes, I'm gonna stop recording.